Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. So, 6 experts on the seats to talk about a matter which, when I'm discussing it out there, sounds somehow peculiar, not the typical topic for AI discussions. And that is the topic of AI to facilitate public procurement. If you can go to the slides. Thanks. If you look at the figures and the amount of euros that public procurements represent in the EU, you find huge figures. 2,000 billion euro a year, so that's 3 trillion. That is, in fact, over 50% of EU GDP, which is inserted in the economy through public administrations at all levels. I include in international organizations such as the European Commission or the European Space Agency, as well as the local authority, in our case, the municipality of Cannes is at the table here. So really all public authorities included, it represents over 50% of the economy in Europe. That is to say that if you improve that process, and I'm talking about efficiency, if you improve that process, even by 1, 2, 5%, you generate a huge economy of scale. And it's an economy for everyone. It's an economy for those who are buying, so the public authorities. Why? Because, in fact, a large number of competitions, when we talk about competitive public procurement, a lot of competitions end up without success. So there was no response, no offer, or there was an administrative problem at some point, and eventually you just close without giving a market, which means that your services have been working a lot. Those who provided offers when there are worked a lot, and eventually you don't spend the money. So you don't get the services or the goods that the money is supposed to acquire. So that's bad for the public authorities. It is bad for those who are bidding, because bidding means a lot of effort. For a small company, for an SME, sometimes bidding represents 20% of the turnover. So the effort spent into bidding is of that amount. And of course, for the citizen, we all pay taxes, and if these taxes are not spent efficiently, well, we lose. If they are not spent properly, we lose. And therefore, improving that process, and I say efficiency, but I also mean transparency and everything that goes along, is of importance. And that's where we see AI coming in right now with quite some success. So on our panel here, the colleagues will introduce them briefly when I ask the first question. But basically, we have 6 colleagues who can address these 3 aspects of AI in public procurement. How the task of the operators wishing to bid, so the companies, can be improved. How the exercise of democratic control on public procurement can be improved. And how these procurement authorities, the public services, can do it more efficiently. So the next slide gives you again the name of the colleagues. Voilà. They will introduce themselves. You've seen the picture on the very first slide. So I'll start with questions, but before I start, I want to stress a point. If you can go to the next slide with orange background, this one you can leave now. Because we're going to address very superficially a number of issues on that matter. So if there is any matter that you would like to hear into more details, merci beaucoup, in the next few weeks, We will organize online sessions, webinars, to address some of these issues. There is already one planned on 6th of March, but we can add some. So take note of the address, of the email address. You send an email saying, well, I would like to hear more, or I would like to hear more in particular on that matter, and we'll follow up. That was the intro also on the administrative issues. But now I'm going to start with the economy is driving AI. I think you've heard that everywhere. So I'm going to ask Stefan Morkov, who is the founder of a company which is dedicated to making life of those who are bidding easier, to introduce himself and his company, and to tell us what are your customers looking for. Why are they buying your services?
Hello, thank you for the invitation, for organizing this. So we are Hermix. We are a technology platform that helps companies win public contracts. We process huge amounts of data to generate leads of public tenders, to analyze tenders, to analyze the market and support with bidding and pre-sales. So obviously, we use machine learning to clean up data and make meaning out of this data, and GPT tools to analyze specifications and requirements of tenders. We work for companies such as IBM, Capgemini, KPMG, Apple, Wipro. We have quite a few customers at this conference as well. Euroforce, I think they're also here, great partner. And I believe that we are here facing a huge opportunity. We are at the intersection of, as you were saying, an area that is huge and has a lot of challenges that you already mentioned, but also we have opportunities related to availability of data, huge amounts of data, as well as today the availability of technology, processing power, and new algorithms. So I'm not looking at risks and challenges personally. I am specialized in opportunity management. Actually, this was the topic of my PhD, management of positive complexity, which is related to opportunity management. I believe that these items together will disrupt the sector. And we are talking about the disruption that is similar to the type of disruption you had in the private sector, for instance, in B2B, something like 10, 20 years ago, with the introduction of the CRM in business to business, where every company implemented Salesforce and Pipedrive and all the other CRMs to automate and to have sales more efficient to hundreds and thousands of small and medium businesses. Or another huge transformation also about 10, 20 years ago, the e-commerce. When in the business to consumer market, the market was completely disrupted by the introduction of eBay and Amazon, e-commerce. And the impact was not only on efficiency, not only in quality, it was in everything. Because suddenly we have, for instance, as consumers, a huge impact in the quality of the products we are getting. We have incredibly more competition today than when we were only buying from the magazine, from the shop next door. Now we can compare online prices and quality and reviews. So we have impact on delivery quality, the quality of the product, in the efficiency, and so on. So this is what we also exploit at Hermix. We are riding an opportunity of transforming the public sector sales altogether.
And your customers, what do they expect? They expect to have a better win ratio, like they only have to work on 3 tenders to win 1, instead of 5 or 10 as they used before, or on a very practical side, how do they measure the usefulness of using AI and your data crunching thing?
So there are 2 very core basic questions that we need to answer in all sales, but also in public sector sales. The first one is, what tender should I do? And the second is, which are my best partners and products to propose? Because as you were saying earlier, public tendering is expensive. They are huge budgets. We are talking about absolutely huge budgets. I was bidding in my life before Hermix for tenders of tens and hundreds of millions in one project alone. But writing them is really expensive. So you need to choose very wisely the place where you have the best chance to win. This is the blue ocean strategy. You need to position yourself in that ocean as a supplier, in that ocean where there's a lot of fish and not so much competition. The ultimate purpose, obviously. So the first question is, what is my best market? Where is the biggest amount of money but not so much competition and I can best deliver? And the second is, what do I propose? Do I propose this technology, this tool, or this product? Do I partner with this company or the other? So for instance, we provide tender profiles and client profiles and partner profiles where you can make sense of the data. Something like which partners would increase my chances of winning, what technology, which are the best 5 suppliers in this market, and so on. Okay, well, thanks. So there is a lot of money involved, public money, therefore control. Anticor is a well-known NGO dedicated to transparency and fighting corruption, making sure that public money is spent to the best. Emma is vice president of Anticor. Can you tell us what your association, your organization is expecting from using AI? Because you started doing that, right? You started using it, yeah?
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Michel, for organizing this, and thank you for giving us the opportunity to talk about the use of AI in civil society organization. So, for people who don't know Anticor, we are a French NGO which aims to fight against corruption and to promote ethics in politics. So, indeed, in our in order to ensure our goals, transparency is a keyword, and we think that AI is a powerful tool. So that's why we launched last year our data lab. So it's a structure which aims to help Anticor promote its goal by developing AI tools. For two goals. First, to help us in our judicial activity, because Anticor is very known for his judicial activity. Indeed, our main activity is to bring corruption cases to court whenever it's necessary, but we don't have any powers to investigate cases ourselves. So we are very dependent on data. Most of the time, the data are given to us by whistleblowers or journalists, but we are trying to get more information on the case by using public data, and this is in this very logic that we want to use AI in order to get deeper in the public data that we have, and in order to help us build a case. I don't think that we will entirely build a case, because it is, in our opinion, first of all, it is not necessarily a positive thing, because we do think that a human analysis will be the best option to bring a case to court, but also at least the French courts are not ready, in my opinion, to accept AI findings as a formal proof. But for us, it is a very efficient way to get better and deeper understanding of a corruption case we're studying.
Okay, so you sort of you find gray zones more easily, or you characterize the zones where maybe it's worth human beings getting into a better analysis. But so Julien is your IT specialist, if I understand correctly. So how do you deal with, because I assume that you deal with public data as the basic data. You don't have power to investigate, so and that's fair. So there are plenty of data around. I've been working in the European Commission, and if you see the quantity of data and the details of data available, it's incredible. I was sharing with Christophe. I mean, you have project budgets, status of payments of contractors. I mean, it's incredible what you get, thanks to transparency principles. So there are a lot of data. But how do you deal with that, and where do you put AI in there?
Hi, so maybe I will introduce myself first. So my name is Julien Pérez. Thank you so much again for the invitation. So I'm basically a research scientist for over 20 years now in the domain of deep learning, or maybe you know ChatGPT, GenAI. So that's what I'm doing over the last 15 years. And so we had the chance, as Emma said, that we built this data lab that started at the end of 2023, where the idea was to bring data scientists as a, let's say, an additional activity, as a supporting activity for the contentious activity of Anticorp. And as you mentioned very, very accurately, the first means of the data lab is to try to leverage the quantity of public data that now we have, both in France and in Europe, since I would say 2016, when the first loi République numérique started to impose, especially for public market and access to public market, this kind of activity. So it's still, as you mentioned very accurately, a large quantity of data, but also a lot of challenges that come with it. We have, as we are working on the subject, we see that we still have a lot of challenge with the format that are not always completely perfect. The fact that at the moment we have some kind of an obligation, but we have no enforcement, means that basically if you do not do it, you risk anything. For the moment. But still, we now start to have capabilities of providing support, as we said, for some of the cases that we have. We are also very proud that the Cour des Comptes actually used one of our very first scientific publications, because that's also one of our purposes. We're actually publishing the research we are doing in this lab. And so we try to also inspire maybe other European countries to have this kind of initiative, which is both associative but also scientific, to search for basically this kind of anomalies and this kind of, I would not say evidence, but basically those kind of elements that support our activities, yes.
Yeah, interesting. Stefan, so you are using this, maybe at the basis the same data. That, I mean, it's the same overall set of data that you crunch on to provide advices to those who want to bid more. In the algorithms, in the methods that you have developed, do you think that some can also be used for different purposes, but around the same objective, making these tenders more efficient, and based on the same pool of data, or it's a different world? Is it a different approach to things?
Probably the objectives are a little bit different, but the problems are the same. So obviously, from the private sector point of view, the supplier's point of view, they want to win tenders. They don't want to have a lot of competition, right? As a supplier, you want to be the only supplier. You want to be a monopoly. That's the ultimate objective of marketing, to become a monopoly. From the other point of view, the non-government organizations and the government, the objectives are a little bit different. But they also care about efficiency, about competition and transparency and quality of services. But the problems that we have behind, as you were saying and you also mentioned, are pretty much the same. So it's the availability of data, the quality of data, but I would like to add also the meaning of data. So availability is high, as you have underlined. The quality, usually low, but it is a complicated problem, meaning that if you throw enough resources at it, you will solve it. Meaning is what is very interesting. Because if you have 8 million, we analyzed about 8 million contracts in our databases during the past couple of years. But if I give you 8 million contracts, it's meaningless, it's useless. So the question is how to create meaning out of this data, how to answer to relevant questions. And this is an area where AI can really help. And a lot of the applications that we have been seeing today at this conference and during these past few days are actually quite interesting in this area. So the question is not only how to deploy, we are not talking about let's deploy AI, let's have a lot of data. The question is what we do with this data. And for instance, an example of applications that we have experimented with here and there are, for instance, detecting clusters of interests, which is done by a graph analysis. So we have a big graph, right, of contracts, suppliers, authorities, and consortia. That's a huge graph of about 15 million nodes. And some of the questions that you can answer by analyzing, by graph analysis, basically, machine learning and graph analysis are, which are the circle of interests, or which are those groups that tend to, concentrate in specific areas. And this is something absolutely interesting when you analyze, for instance, potential frauds, or oligopolies, which are obviously quite important from the other point of view of the buyers who want to avoid oligopolies and conflicts of interest.
Okay, thanks, Stefan. You want to react, Julien, to that?
Maybe just to complete on that aspect of meaningfulness of the data. I think I can share just in few sentences a story that we had. In our data lab now, we have the chance to have the person who designed the very first, what we call in France, données essentielles de la commande publique, which is the computational format that we use to register all actually the contract that that France is passing with the public sector when they buy something. And just to give you an idea of what's happened there is like in 2016 when this law started to be adopted. So the law per se take maybe one year and a half to be discussed and to be voted, without any technical people associated to it, right? And when this law was actually passed, and I really go to this problem of meaningfulness of the data, actually they gave 5 days for a computer scientist alone to design the format that was supposed to be adopted for this 1 year and a half of discussion, where absolutely no computer scientist was actually involved to make sure actually those actual decisions that was making sense in a technical aspect. And beyond that, we had, I think, like 7 or 8 versions of this very data, of this very data format. Because formally, the person that was actually involved to define it were just not part of computer science. And even today, we had the chance to discuss almost weekly with the Prime Minister Office of Governmental Data, but also the Bercy, the Minister of Economy, that also is in charge of publishing those data. And we still reported very, very, very frequently just mistakes with respect to the data per se, but also the format that doesn't really allow, at the moment at least, to make those data usable. So that's why I really agree with my colleague here on the fact that this meaningfulness is a key that is currently still a work in progress, I would say.
Okay, thanks. So now on the side of those who are spending the money now, so as we have not two extremes, but two different cases here. Régine, who works in, well, you will tell, but for the municipality of Cannes, so a large city in France with spendings of a real size, and Christophe from the European Space Agency, so very large projects in general. These are the guys who buy the satellites for Galileo, for Earth observation, these sort of things. So we're talking about tens and hundreds of millions for each contract sometimes. So let's start with Régine. Why a municipality, why the services here in Cannes decide to use generative AI, generally speaking, and then we go to procurement. But first, how do you use that? I mean, what's the
First,
strategy?
hi everybody. Thank you, Michel, for organizing this panel. So I'm Régine Resbeux-Montanella. I'm the special advisor to the mayor of Cannes. So why did David Lisnard, our mayor, decided to implement AI, generative AI in our organization? Well, David Lisnard really sees the implementation of Gen AI as a driver for public performance to improve the municipal organization, but as well to improve the quality of public services provided to Cannes residents and visitors. So to our mayor, it's not just something fashionable, it's not only an opportunity, it's really a responsibility. It's really a duty because he's really convinced that Gen AI will help improve the efficiency of the public administration. So just to reassure everybody, of course, the goal is not to replace our agent with AI, but to assist our agent to relieve them of time-consuming tasks, to help them have more rewarding missions, and very important to us to have more time to interact with users, to bring more humanity. So we've tried, I mean, very few months ago, maybe 6 or 7 months ago, to experiment generative AI in our organization, and we identified a dozen use cases. Among the use cases that we chose to experiment, we have very concrete things. We have audio-to-text AI, like video conferences, transcription of video conferences, and in-person meetings. We have an external chatbot. Legal, of course, is also important to us. A legal module. We have, what do we have? We have a tool to help us drafting of letters and documents and so on. And last but not least, because this is the subject of this roundtable, we have a tender analysis, a tool that I will talk about that. So just afterwards. So to sum up, why did David Lisnard, our mayor, chose to use Gen AI? Well, I think there are 3 objectives: is just to increase staff productivity, to achieve cost reduction, then to improve the public services, which is, of course, you know, what we are for, and of course while maintaining a human central approach. Just to my friend of Antico, of course, what I want to emphasize is that we drafted also a code of good practice for our municipal employees. This is one of the first things that we did, because we really want to make sure to ensure that all generated AI outputs are validated and reviewed by a human. This is the rule.
Okay. And so what about procurements?
What about procurement? Well, just to say, of course, as like my colleague here, so we are a small city, but still, the annual budget of the city of Cannes is €500 million per year. Sort of something very small to you. But what I have to tell you is that, except for HR expenses, all the expenses of the city of Cannes result in public procurement. I mean, except for HR, everything is public procurement. And we have, just to give you just another figure for a small town like us, the city of Cannes reviews each year 1,500 procurement offers, which is kind of a lot, which means that it's very, very time-consuming. Sure, so, well, what we concretely, we've just started experimenting a tool, and it's called Maya. I will spell it for, it's M-I-IA. And it's an AI solution-based tool, which kind of covers all the generation of the public contract. Just briefly, it consists of 3 modules. Of course, there is the legal one. Just you can ask questions about procurement law, and it also just help you drafting a contract. Then, very important, it has and we talked about a lot of data, very powerful with sourcing and benchmarking. So you can have a lot of data all around the world with about former tenders, very important to us to compare, but also providers, and you can search by geographic area with keyword, amount, date, buyers. So that's a very powerful source of data that we have, and what I can tell, what maybe I can tell is kind of recent, but I can tell what we can already have results, and that's very powerful. And our return of experience from a few months, I could say that, as I say, sourcing and benchmarking, it is very important, because you said what you said, that it's true. It's very, even for a small town like us, and Anticor just now say, we have kind of the same procedures as you. I mean, little town, our procedure as complex as yours. So it's difficult for small companies. So what can we do with all having this data by improving our sourcing and benchmarking is that we can precise our own needs and see what is going on, and then it can really increase the quality and the numbers of bids for each call for tenders. And it's very important for us. When you say, Stefan says that for the public sector, they want to be alone and be the only one. But to us, we're very happy, even if it's very time consuming, the more bid we have for each call of a tender, of course, the happier we are, because we can negotiate and we can really just buy at the best price. The second advantage, the second added value, and of course, maybe it's the most important one, is that this tool can help reducing time and operational costs associated to all this process, which mean reviewing, analyzing, recomparing, and also drafting, the analysis report is very huge. And if you do it seriously, like we do in Cannes, my dear friends, believe me, in Cannes, it's very taken seriously, and it's consuming a lot of time. And one thing is interesting is that our technical department has just started to experiment this tool, Maya, and our director said that he estimates, because he tested it on maybe 3 or 4 bids, that it could help him gain 80% of time by analyzing and comparing the tenders. Of course, it always a human validation, but it's so huge sometimes for tenders, and of course, we can have 15, 20 offers per bid. So that's a lot of time too. That's a lot of time. And I think the third thing that is very important too is that when you have so much data to analyze, you can make errors, even if you don't intend to make errors. And I think this tool is very powerful by helping minimizing the risk of errors and improving our compliance with the regulation, national, local, and of course European, the GDPR and the European AI regulations. So what I can tell is from our point of view, and even if it's very recent, we've just started experimented the tool a few months ago, I think the added values of the tool for our local city is, of course, time saving, cost reduction, improving our compliance with regulation, and so better resource management, better governance, and of course, improving a better public administration.
Well, thank you. Sounds promising. So we'll come back next year to check about the real measure of the improvements that you expect. But that sounds really interesting. Christophe, what about the European Space Agency?
So hello everybody, and thank you for having me here. Well, I mean, I must say I'm impressed by the city of Cannes. They're doing a lot of interesting things with AI. From our point of view, as you said, Michel, we have huge projects. We have projects, for example, recently we had Argonaut and Envision, so we're talking about more than 850 millions. And the second one is more than 350 millions. But those, I would say, are not the vast majority of the contracts that we place. We had in 2024 a budget of approximately 8 billion euros, and we placed approximately 1,700 contracts with that. Okay, So the vast majority of those contracts were actually contracts of medium to low value. And I'm talking about contracts around approximately around, on average, €500,000 or maybe a bit more. And those contracts are the one where we will be focusing AI, or at least we would like to focus AI. Because the big ones are very, very complex transactions with huge consortia, very complicated constructions related to intellectual property, engineering, and so on. So they really require some craftsmanship, some artisanat when you actually put together a contract and an invitation to tender and so on. While we have smaller contracts, which are more related in general to research and development of new technologies for future missions. And on those contracts, the transactions are simpler. So we have a bit more of a repetitive aspect and a simpler object, if you will, for the AI to process. In this, so what we've been doing so far is to basically develop tools that we can use to do exactly the same that the city of Cannes is doing, basically increase efficiency, have a higher throughput as well, because we want to reduce the time to contract. At the moment, for one of those smaller contracts, it takes about 5 months from the issuing of the tender to the signature of the contract. And we would like to compress this to be more efficient and give more value to the taxpayers as well. So we developed a tool. It's only a pilot for the moment, but then we will also have a wider test, if you will. And we have a tool that is basically based on generative AI, so on a LLM, that is capable of basically composing a statement of work, a contract, and also the other documents that are necessary to issue an invitation to tender automatically, on the basis of a description of an activity. So basically, let's say I want to do some new solar panels for a future mission, and I will describe the activity. This is usually done at the level of our engineers together with our industrial policy committee. So there will be a paper written about what are the general objectives of the activity, a small description, and so on. And then the AI will take this information, will also take maybe some past statement of work in the same area, and will generate a draft statement of work, a draft contract with the right clauses, because, for example, if, let's say, we have a TRL 5, maybe we might want to apply some penalties, TRL being technology readiness level.
So how close the technology is to the market. So
yes.
TRL 1 is in the mind of the scientist, and TRL 10 is you can buy it.
Yes. So that's basically what we've been doing, and it's still in testing, but it's working quite well, I must say. So this is the first thing we want to implement. And then we also, of course, from a technical point of view, AI machine learning has been implemented in satellites and so on for a bit, or at least research for a bit. It's not new for telemetry and things like that. But we also have another tool that has been implemented which will help the technicians in the reviews, so in the execution of the contract, where they have basically to be able to match various requirements of various systems and subsystems. I don't understand it myself.
No, but it's true that AI and space have a lot, well, not in common necessarily, but there has always been a lot of interaction between IT and space. I mean, the first computers, the first powerful computers were created to help NASA. And there were these back and forth between AI, and because AI in the 70s, 80s already existed, it couldn't run on PCs or whatever Macintosh of that time, but there were some AI implementation on supercalculators and big computers, a lot in the field of space. So there has always been this interaction. So I think we can bet that also in using AI for administrative purposes, the European Space Agency will be at the forefront.
We do our best.
Thanks. So we've heard pragmatical use of AI or hopes in AI in very daily tasks of different nature. We have at the table, last but not least, Emma. Emma, well, she will tell, but she works in a research organization, and she's specialized in procurement techniques and what are the most efficient kind of procurements for depending on the use case. So Emma, after a brief introduction, tell us a bit if what you heard before matches with the sort of data that you are looking into when thinking about the next procurement techniques, because next to a procurement technique there is a regulation that that gives boundaries, that gives code of conduct, etc. So Emma, please.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I'm just a bit quieter than everyone else. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Michelle, for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be here. For those of you that don't know the European Institute of Public Administration, better known as EPA, we are an organisation based in Maastricht in the Netherlands. Quite small, but sufficient in our ways. We provide not only trainings on open seminars and tailor-made, but we also conduct research, and we also implement consultancy services to public sector entities across Europe. So, with that being said, I specialise in public procurement at large, covering everything from strategic and sustainable to defence and so on. But we have also launched recently a course on buying AI and using AI in procurement. So, touch wood, so far this has been very successful, and hopefully it will continue to do so. In addition to this, I'm also a research group member at the Centre for AI and Digital Policy, where I participate in global discussions with many different countries relating to researching and developing solutions to ethical and legal challenges in AI governance. So to answer Mitchell's question, I think, yes, everything that has been touched on today is highly promising. It's very much a shiny, bright thing for everybody to look towards, but at the same time, we mustn't forget that we don't necessarily know how to govern it properly. I think what we do know about AI is that while it can enhance efficiency, improve transparency, and help detect fraud, there are definitely a lot of risks there that it introduces that procurement systems don't necessarily know how to fully manage yet. Take what Stefan said, for example, relating to about using AI in market intelligence and bid analysis. It's, on the one hand, very valuable, but on the other hand, we need to ask, how do we ensure AI-generated insights don't distort competition? Also, how do we know that it's not going to favour certain suppliers over others if there is incomplete or biased data that has been submitted? So that's still an open question from what we've seen. I don't know if Stefan has any answers to this that could help us. But yeah, from what I know, it's very much an open question at the moment. So yeah, in addition to this, what we've also seen similarly with improving transparency, specifically for anti-corruption, this is something that is very topical at the moment. We are just about to launch another course on this concerning digital solutions to anti-corruption in procurement, which will not only concern the risks and frameworks, but also the opportunities that it brings. So it's definitely promising, but at the same time, although AI can flag irregularities in procurement that procurement officers may not have seen or overlooked themselves, we can't forget about the false positives here. So if AI detects or identifies a bid as suspicious, but we can't explain why, that will lead to creating more legal uncertainty and potentially create a rabbit hole that we go down that we can't get out of. I mean, this is already evident in some studies already. So, yeah, relating to how the public authorities are adopting AI, we've definitely looked into this. This is also very topical at the moment as well. I'm also surprised by Cannes, so that's a good thing. But we've definitely seen one of the biggest trends with governments at the moment is that they're starting to wake up to reality and realise that we do need AI-specific rules for procurement. Examples of this have been in the UK, Canada, US, where we've seen they've started to introduce procurement guidelines and frameworks. we also know that the EU AI Act will require risk-based AI governance. And Japan also just announced that they're also creating the introduction of procurement guidelines in this regard. So it's definitely there. It's definitely evident. What I would say moving forward is one of the major challenges would be AI literacy. I don't think that they or we are investing enough in training procurement professionals in understanding how this technology works. We're not IT specialists like Julien. We specialize in other areas, but yeah, moving forward, it's something that we can't escape from, unfortunately. So.
Well, thanks. Yeah, no, I was sort of in my background thinking, well, you prepare the text of the offers by using AI and generating the right requirements to get the offers, and Stefan is helping the guys to answer these requirements with using AI, the same AI, I don't know, and you check whether there is no misconduct or whatever using the same AI. What's to which point do you see these various ways to use AI for the same purpose on the same object? If you think of the procurement as one object, is this going somewhere? Can it be regulated? Are you waiting for the first case where you have similar offers generated by AI, answering a call generated by AI, and you as a public authority wondering what should I do now?
Well, first of all, as we said, it's just an assistant. We don't have bits that are generated by AI. It's just that it helps. It helps assist people to make our offers and tenders, but it doesn't. It's not always AI generated. It's not like this. But maybe, I don't know. Maybe. But actually, it's not now. We don't use. It's just an assistance. Is what I want to insist on. This. We just throw bids, just tenders that just look at AI just automatically, and then we send it. It doesn't. It's not that way, of course not. It's just helping for, I say, like sourcing, benchmarking, having more information, and very important what Christophe says, for all the clause. For instance, the law is very complicated, the procurement law, and not make mistakes, because it changes all the time, and make sure when you make a contract, a draft, that you have the good text, the updated text, for instance. But as I said, to us, the help is very in analyzing really the added value to us. I don't know for Christophe, is really for tender analysis more than for the preparation.
Okay.
We do also use it for we want to use it for the preparation, or at least I want. But I think, Michel, we are in the middle of an arms race, that's how I would call it. Huh? So we want to use AI to reduce the timing, the time to contract, and so on, increase our own efficiency, and then the bidders also use it. I mean, we're already receiving bids that contain text that was generated by AI, so that's why I mean an arms race, and it's a loop,
Yeah, no, that's
so it. I don't see this dying down. I see this intensifying, and indeed there will be a need for some regulation, some rules, and see a bit, what is acceptable and what is not. So far, this hasn't caused too many problems, as far as I know, to the European Space Agency. But I could see indeed some issues, some distortions in the market. If someone has a better AI than another one, that could be indeed an issue. So, yeah.
Okay, thanks. Well, the last word for you, Emma, as a perspective on what this is going to become.
Just building on what Christophe said, I think the race that you referred to, not to be too negative, but I think it could be a race to the bottom. If we prioritize efficiency over fairness, I think that's definitely something that we need to reconfirm and reestablish with ourselves, potentially leading to choosing the easy way out, which would be for the AI to choose the cheapest bid regardless of the quality, I think that's definitely something that we've seen. Some procurement models have already started that shift with the cost-based selection, and AI, I think, can definitely accelerate that trend. I don't know if you've anything to add.
No, I just wanted to say I'm totally aligned with you. Quality is actually in most of our procurement, it's not the lowest price, it's the overall quality and the price. So indeed, we're not talking about abandoning that, and that's the most important criteria for us.
It's the same at the city. It's never the price is never the biggest criteria. So we can the criteria we still is not AI. It's we decide which. Of course,
indeed.
You know, it's not the problem of AI. If you put a criteria, is 70% you just not the bids, then whatever is human or AI, I mean the cheapest bill will be better. So I think that's maybe part of the problem, but not the whole problem.
Absolutely. I mean the typical criteria that we use for medium to small size contracts is the experience of the company and the key personnel, the understanding of the requirements, and then the engineering approach and all the management, and the financial part.
And I don't think AI. I hope. I don't think AI would change it. I don't think it should change it.
Well, so for sure, from what I hear, it's there to improve the quality. So we reached the end of the round table. Thank you very much. Again, to the public, if you have questions, we don't have time for questions, but you can use this email address, and I will dispatch it to the right persons. If you want follow-up on one or another aspect, again, use the same address. And on the 6th of March, so if you want the exact details, the link and everything right here as well for the time being, I will forward to the organizers, basically Stefan and Hermix. But on the 6th of March, there will be another session talking about the same things online this time. Thank you very much to all. A question quickly, very quickly.
Could you just go back to the previous slide so that we can photograph it?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I have the... You mean? This one? Okay. Voilà. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you all.